Advanced Scout.
There you go.
There we go. I was going to sit over here. Oh, no, you're there. Here, Nate, why don't you put this on? I'll get over here.
No questions for Coach Barnes.
That way, Mike. More over there. I'll leave it with you and I'll go back and look. Hey, so we can start, right? Everybody good? Yes.
Okay. Hey, Eric, I don't know if there's much you can say about Mason you hadn't already said, but the All-SEC teams come out tomorrow, and obviously I think it'd be a shock if he wasn't on the team, and maybe he's got a shot for Player of the Year. Just what you thought about his season and his, credentials for All-SEC and maybe Player of the Year?
Yeah, I certainly think that, Mason is one of the best players in the league for sure. Obviously, coaching him and being a part of the Razorback family, you have your opinion on how well he's played. He's done a great job offensively carrying us during stretches. Isaiah's had stretches where he's carried us, and certainly, you hope, and you always want your players to be recognized. Having said all that, we're playing basketball games, and the main thing is how do we win the games coming up, and the focus. In my opinion, we got to focus on how do we beat Vanderbilt, and that's really all I'm concerned with right now.
Saban Lee, what's the difference in Vanderbilt now?
Confident. Like anybody that knows Coach Stackhouse, like he's a really, really great competitor. I actually coached his brother, Tony Dawson. And Stack's done a really good job. I mean, there's not anybody in the SEC that wants to play Vanderbilt right now, I can tell you that. They've played well the last 2 games. They've had a lot of games, single-digit losses. The Georgia game, they had that game won. Pippen, for a freshman, does what you want a freshman to do, which is keep getting better. And then you look at the free throws attempted between Saban Lee and Pippen. And then Maxwell Evans, I mean, he's a guy that's had huge halves. I mean, he and Saban Lee are 2 guys that can get you for 15 and a half. And then you look at the scoring. They played LSU 99-90, same score that we had. So they're scoring the ball a lot better than when we saw them earlier. And I think you just, as we all know, you throw out any game that's happened in the past because it's completely and utterly irrelevant.
I guess that Obina got 12 boards or something the other day their last game in South Carolina.
Yeah, he rebounds the ball. He's a big body. He has not started the last couple games, but he's a guy that's got size, inside and certainly can defensive rebound and as well as offensive rebound.
They play a lot of perimeter guys too. Nate Oates was talking about how they can kind of be a tough matchup. I guess kind of like you guys have been this year or two when Isaiah's been healthy, especially. What do you think about playing another team that maybe mirrors you guys in terms of playing perimeter guys?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they play, they'll play small ball. They've, like I said, changed their starting lineup with Albert coming in and playing that 4 spot. And we just got to defend. They're a hard cover because you got to defend the 3 and you got to defend the dribble drive and keep them off the foul line.
And your approach this week any different? I know you have to take it one game at a time, but to keep them to focus on the task at hand and not worry about 5 in 5 days.
Yeah, I mean, to me we have a 1-game season. There's no. I mean, it's utterly insanity to talk about 4 games in 4 days or 5. I mean, that's ludicrous. We have 1 game, and if you don't win that 1 game, then talking about anything beyond Wednesday is senseless. So we have a 1-game season. If we're able to advance and win that game, we'll get ready for the next game, and then so on and so forth. But to do anything other than figure out how to beat Vanderbilt would not be very smart. And that's the same thing for anybody that plays on Wednesday. It's the same thing that anybody plays on Thursday. Like if you're thinking about anything else, then good luck to you.
We talked about this a lot this season. You even mentioned a little bit on the teleconference earlier, but in terms of clock management, when you have a lead, is that something that the ideology kind of changes when you're at home or on the road, or are there any other factors that play into that?
I think I don't know where that, what the relevance of that is, other than somebody else in the conference was doing some article on it and asked me a question earlier today. But every game's different. You know what I mean? Like, it depends on the team you're playing. Do they press if you have a lead, or if you're behind? Does a team take quick threes? Is a team a good foul shooting team? Is a team a bad foul shooting team? If you have a lead, do you have guys on the floor that can't make fouls? So I think there's a million different philosophical things that go into if you have a lead or if you don't have a lead, and what type of press do you have? Do you have a press that's speeds the game up, a press that fouls, a press that creates turnover? I wish I could answer it better, Pete, but I don't really know where you're going with it. In other words, if you're on the road and you're at home, if you have a lead or don't have a lead, you got to figure out how to get the thing even if you're behind, and if you're ahead, I think you got to kind of coach the way you coach, philosophically, that you feel gives your team the best advantage. I don't know if that's kind of, I don't know where.
Eric, I think you won your last 3 Mountain West tournament titles, right? I think that's right. So you obviously have success winning tournaments. I know that's apples and oranges because you won the championships and you probably had the best team. But does that success help you at all in going into the tournament situation?
I don't think so. I think if I was at Nevada and Jazz Johnson and some of those guys that had been with me the year before, I think there's familiarity in a situation like that. But I don't think that I'm not a first-year coach. I'm not going to get all nervous and not be able to call out plays or anything because we're in a conference tournament. But I haven't been around these guys in this setting. This is our first time together doing it, and certainly I hope next year going into the SEC tournament there's some comfort zone between some of us, players, coaches, but it's our first time doing it together, so I do think that it's a new learning experience. I don't know how they, when you go to one of these, when you check into a hotel, that's got a different feel to it, and when you go to an NCAA tournament, that whole environment's got a different feel. And the way that you practice, the way that we're going to practice tomorrow is, we're going to take an earlier flight than we normally do. We're going to practice at an off-site at 2 o'clock or whatever. Then we're going to go back to the main arena for our 40-minute segment to get shots. So it's, your whole, format's a little bit different. And when you've coached a team 2, 3, 4, like they know what's coming. This is new for this group with me, and I do think that's it's going to be new for all of us. I do like that arena, though. I'll tell you that.
Bridgestone.
We won some games there before.
Okay.
That was the year we went to the Sweet 16.
Okay, I didn't realize that. So, what does that? You get Bridgestone vibes, or?
I hope so.
Does that help? Did you at least have had success there? And
it's my favorite building.
Next to Walton Arena, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And then I know you said you don't want to look ahead, but I assume you're packing through Sunday?
There's more than one polo in my bag right now.
Okay.
Coach, regardless of how you guys do in the SC tournament, what postseason tournament you guys get into, just kind of reflect on the regular season, how you feel like you guys did overall and how you develop players. And I know you guys had to overcome adversity, but just your overall thoughts on your first season.
Yeah, Nikki, I thought we had a really good year. Certainly, we would have liked some of the games that we lost on last-second tip-ins or whatever to have different results. But I think our team played hard. I think our team developed in an identity of a team that you have to play hard against to beat. I think we gained respect. Like when we would go on the road and people would say that we're a quadrant 1 win, and people talked about, hey, if we win this game, it's a resume builder. I mean, all that stuff is respect. It's respect with media personnel. It's respect with opposing coaches. It's respect with opposing players. We've lost some games on the road, and teams have celebrated more than what I would expect. Having said all that, we wish we finished higher in the standings. We knew coming into this season that we had some big-time deficiencies as far as our lack of height. Some things did not go our way. Starting before we played a game, we were hopeful that Connor Vanover would have gotten. And it's not just that I hoped that. Connor had hoped that. His parents had hoped that. That was a big blow for us from a height standpoint. And then nobody would expect, one of your top players and one of the top shooters, in the country to be out for 5 games when you already have a shorter roster. And so when you put all those factors in, really proud of how our guys played in the regular season. And, now we're in these situations where, they're kind of 1-game seasons. And I'm hopeful that we can play well against Vanderbilt, because I know if we don't play well, like I know now, like watching Vanderbilt's last few games this morning already, if we don't play really, really well, we're not going to win that game. We can't play a B game. We can't play a C game. We will not beat Vanderbilt unless we bring our A game, and unless we play with great discipline, unless we stay out of foul trouble.
They call it March Madness for a reason. Every year you see teams get on unexpected runs. Now in 2000, Arkansas didn't win 5 games in 5 days, but they won 4 in 4 days, and they hadn't won back-to-back SEC games, I think, all year. It was obviously an atypical. I think they were 7-9 that year, atypical Nolan team. So do you think about that? Hey, it's going to be somebody somewhere. Why not us in Nashville? I mean, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, really, Bob. I'm not just saying it because you guys are here. I had a meeting this morning with our staff, and it was like, look, between now and when the game ends against Vanderbilt, I don't want anybody talking about anything other than how do we beat Vanderbilt. That's how much respect I have for them. That's how I feel, how well they're playing. I don't even know who would play in the next game. And I don't want anyone on our staff thinking about that. I don't want any of the players. Because if we don't, I'm just going to keep saying it because I'm not saying it to say it. It's the truth. Vanderbilt's playing good basketball. They get to sleep in their own beds. They're not traveling. This is a problematic game in a lot of ways.
You want me to tell you who you guys play next, or you just want to?
Yeah, you can. I'm not going to really.
You're playing South Carolina. Okay. If you win, you or Vanderbilt will play South Carolina.
Okay, there you go. That's fair.
I don't want to assume anything. So.
Anything else for Coach? Sorry,
one thing about Mason. I know you probably don't want to talk too much about him, but what's been the most impressive thing about his season to you?
I think just his development of versatility from an offensive standpoint. When we watched film of him last year, you could see that he could score the ball, but just the versatility. We started the year off where he was like a screen setter in pick and pop situations. I thought he did a great job of accepting his role of playing that power forward spot for us for much of the year until of late. Being a ball hand, I think his ball handling skills have improved dramatically. I think last year he showed flashes of being a really good passer, but now he's played a lot of point forward for us. So I think versatility handling the ball, versatility scoring the ball in different areas, his ability to draw fouls has been huge, and that's kind of grown and grown as the season's progressed. The referees respect his ability to lift defenders and get guys off the ground and to draw contact. And he's had a fabulous year offensively for sure, without a doubt, and he's one of the best offensive players in the country.
Did he surprise you? I mean, based, like, if somebody would have told you in September he would have this kind of year, what would you have said?
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime you see a player that averaged, he and Isaiah were right around that 14, 15 point, area scoring, and especially when Isaiah was out for 5 games, we really, really needed Mason to step up and have a much bigger role than any of us could have envisioned, because, obviously Isaiah is a guy that scores the ball, and he stepped up and delivered. And it's hard on a player too when you're the focal point of an opposing team scouting report. And look, like I went and gathered as many scouting reports as I could on Arkansas when I got the job. I didn't get any or ask anybody in the conference because I knew that nobody would share that, but I certainly got a lot of non-conference scouting reports on Arkansas, and look, the bottom line is everybody that who I talked to and gathered reports, I mean, Daniel was the focal point. And so then you don't know how other guys are going to respond when they become the focal point. And certainly think that Mason and Isaiah have done a great job with an added burden of them drawing tough defensive assignments every night and tough defensive schemes geared towards an individual or both of them. Thanks.